Hi, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for joining us again, if you're back. If not, thank you for joining us for the first time. My name is Jessica. I am the Director of Education for Knowbility, and we are an organization that specializes in inclusive design and accessible information technology. So in response to COVID, we made a choice at Knowbility to offer a free resource for K12 administrators, students, and parents who are now having to work from home and need new tools. And this has been our, we've had a 6-week series, and this is our final session. And the final session is now calculating change, and Texas Instruments is our presenter. And we've called it, did I say Toolkit Tuesdays? I think I did, but yes, Toolkit Tuesdays. So I just want to go over a couple of housekeeping rules. So we are recording this session, so just keep that in mind. And at the end of the session and all of the sessions, we will have them available on YouTube, and I will be sending a link to everyone who's attended all of the sessions so that they have access to those recordings. The chat and Q&A boxes are available, and if you don't know Zoom, there is a, at the bottom of your screen, there is the chat box, and then there's also a Q&A box. You can type in anything that you'd like at that, in those boxes, and we will be answering questions as they come in based on the how the presentation is going. There are several different components. So I'm going to pause and see if there are questions as they come in. And aside from that, I believe those are the only housekeeping things we need to discuss. I do want to thank, Mark, one of our tech folks on our team, for all of his support during this time and for Toolkit Tuesdays. And I also want to thank the TCC, Texas Captioning, for providing all the captioning for this particular effort. So thank you so much, and thank you, Texas Instruments, for being here. And I'll let you take it from here because there are several of you. And so Joanie, I think you're the one that's going to start.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. And thank you, Jessica. We're really grateful for this opportunity and the invitation to participate in your Toolkit Tuesdays. And I'm very excited to be joined by some other presenters today to help share some information with all of you about our talking calculators. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into our slideshow here. I'm hoping somebody will holler at me if you're not able to see, but I think we're okay. So as Jessica mentioned, our title is Calculating Change with Texas Instruments. And as an overview of our graphing calculator, instead of me telling you about that, I'm going to just start by sharing a video with all of you that gives a quick overview. So let me get that going here. Try to get that going here.
Anytime an instrument comes along that really just is it, that falls in line with something that they envisioned, it's pretty amazing.
It really has made my life so much easier in the classroom and out of it when I'm doing homework. And now I'm able to be part of these advanced classes and be able to be part of the discussion equally.
2 or 3 years ago, when we would look at high school classes and even college classes, what careers you wanted to go into, there were some that we just ruled out because we knew how, not that she couldn't do the work, but whether the material would allow her to do it effectively, independently. And it was very frustrating that there was whole sections of classes in math, higher math, and in science that we knew that just was not going to work out for her well.
The Orion TI-84 Plus
talking graphing calculator really puts students that are blind and visually impaired on an even playing field for success in advanced math and science courses. And what I find is really powerful today is that we're bringing the power of visualization to students that are blind or visually impaired, where they're able to listen, they're able to touch, and they're able to feel the mathematics. And that's just incredibly cool.
This calculator has changed my life because it has helped me become more confident. I enjoy math now. I am able to get help from other students and my teacher, just like every other student. This calculator opened the door for me to do that, and I would not have been able to take this class if it would not have been for this calculator.
Super. So Lily says it best, but I'm really excited to be joined today by a couple other folks that are going to be presenting. From the Texas School for the Blind and Visually Impaired, we're thrilled to have Susan Osterhaus and Maylene Bird. I know you all are going to learn a great deal from their experiences, both around the development and use of this calculator with students. And then towards the end of our time together, my colleague from Texas Instruments, Steve DeBauge, is going to share kind of some forward thinking and ideas around other STEM programming that we're thinking about here at TI. So at this point, I'm thrilled to turn the screen over, or the microphone over, to Susan Osterhaus.
Hello, everyone. I'm not going to go into my video because my picture looks better than me right now with COVID-19. I'm just going to stick with my picture. Okay. So I'm going to start out by giving you a little bit of an overview of how the Orion TI-84 Plus talking calculator evolved. It didn't just come instantaneously. Okay. And since I'm the oldest one here on this panel, I get to be like the historian, I guess. So what was it like before the Orion TI-84 Plus talking graphing calculator? Well, my students and I desperately needed at least a talking scientific calculator. There was no talking graphing calculator in the late 1990s, and we needed something. And in fact, actually, Texas Education Agency was saying we needed to be having a graphing calculator, and I said we have one. I have TI-82s with view screen attachments for my low vision student, but for our blind students, I don't even have a decent scientific calculator. So I had gone all over the United States and Canada and UK trying just to find a talking scientific calculator for my students who are blind. And we basically evaluated all these calculators, and we were about to give up when I got a letter from a company I'd never heard of called Orbit Research. And they wanted to know if I was interested in evaluating their Orion TI-84 talking scientific calculator. Well, of course, I said sure. And I was thinking, well, let's see what if this is going to come up to anything or not. It was the most fantastic calculator, talking scientific calculator of all that we had looked at. The price was right. It was just wonderful. So we ordered a whole bunch, and that's what my students lived on for quite a while, was that talking scientific calculator. And I kept out there going, like, we still need an accessible graphing calculator. So View Plus Technologies took on the task and went ahead and came up with something called the audio graphing calculator. And you're going to see a picture here of a couple of my students in front of a computer screen, and that's what it was. It was software. And so basically they could use the audio graphing calculator on a computer as software, and it gave an audio wave, and then we connected it to a Tiger embosser, which View Plus Technology also manufactures. So it was very nice. They could go on the audio graphing calculator and they can send everything over to the Tiger embosser and so forth. And that came about 2000, I think. And so we went with that for quite a few years. At some point, Orbit Research contacted me and said TI was discontinuing the TI-34. So since I had been so much involved with the TI-34, or Orion TI-34, they asked if I wanted to choose the next TI scientific calculator. And so I said, let's go for the TI-36X because XS, because it had the most functions. And of course I wanted as much as I could get for my students. So Orbit Research, again, united with TI and came up with the Orion TI-86S. Now, if you're wondering why did I still need that if I had the audio graphing calculator? The audio graphing calculator was great for a lot of graphing things, but the calculator portion of it was pretty slow and cumbersome and so forth. So basically, my students used the Orion TI-86S in conjunction with the audio graphing calculator. And so we went by with that, and it still was going, oh my gosh, because the audio graphing calculator, as great as it was, and it was the only graphing calculator that was accessible for my blind students, it still didn't do everything that I needed it to do for my students. And they were really hoping that they would get it up to, listen to this, TI84 specifications, but it didn't happen. So I just kept pushing, and then, oh, I guess maybe in 2011 or 2012, I got APH, American Reading House for the Blind, started talking in one ear, and Orbit Research started talking in the other ear, and they wanted to come up with a graphing calculator. Well, I'm going to cut the story short and say I got the two together, and the result, along with Texas Instruments, was the first and only Orion TI-84 Plus, which we unveiled in 2013 at the CSUN conference. Everybody was absolutely blown away. And so that's how the calculator was basically born. So on this next slide, what we've got is a picture of the TI-84 Plus graphing calculator, and that's the Orion. And then on the left, it's also the Orion of the TI-30XS multi-view scientific calculator. What happened there was that the TI discontinued the 36XS, so we needed another one, and we went with the TI-30XS. And if somebody will please put in the chat room, I have a handout that's the link is going to be l.knowbility.org/calculator, and I think they're going to put that in the chat room as well. And basically, this is a little handout that gives you a very brief introduction to and a little bit of a description of both of these calculators. Okay, next slide, please. All right, and then now we don't want to forget about my low vision students. All that they can use the Orion TI-84 Plus as well, but if they want to, they can also use classroom software. Either the TI Smart View for the TI-84 Plus, if that's what their class is using, or they can use the TI Inspire CX student software in case that their class is using the TI Inspire. As much as possible, we want the student to be able to use the calculator that the rest of their peers are using in their math classroom, in the regular ed classroom setting. Okay, next slide. Joanie, whoop, I'm ready for the, okay, there we go. Okay, so again, a little bit of an overview of the Orion TI-84 Plus talking calculator. You're gonna get that in that handout. And also what folks wanted to know was, how are educators and students learning to use this calculator? Well, let me tell you, there's a big difference with the audio graphing calculator. I guess it was a good thing for me, but basically a lot of people didn't know how to use that. So I was running all over the country trying to train people on it because it looked so different. The fact that the Orion TI-84 Plus, if you look at it carefully, the bottom half of it is just a TI-84 Plus. And I say just, and what I'm saying is it's just like it. And the Orion part, which I call it that, the talking part, is above that. So it's all one unit. And basically, though, it is a TI-84 Plus that talks and graphs and is accessible. Okay, now, how are educators then, what's the difference? How are they learning how to use the calculator? Well, the student themselves can get direct instruction from their TVIs for the Orion portion. That's the talking portion. I do train them, or they learn in other ways I'm about to tell you. The TVIs, those are the teachers who have teachers of students with visual impairments. And then we have direct instruction from math teachers for the TI84 Plus portion. So the math teachers can do everything that the TI84 Plus does because it is a TI84 Plus at its base. And as far as the teachers learning about it, we do have presentations and workshops that they can learn at, but I hardly do any of those anymore. Also, both the teachers and the students can self-explore because it has a help mode, and it's just so easy to operate. I'm just going to tell you that. However, if you're still concerned, especially those teachers of students with visual impairments who have a little bit of a math phobia, on my portion of the TSBVI website, I do have a link here that's for the videos, webinars, and mathematics. And if you go to that link, you will be able to see, I think there's 3 pretty nice step-by-step instructions to the Orion TI-84 Plus, and I've been told that people go there and do learn it rather quickly. So I wanted to let you know about that. Those same instructions, those same videos are also on the APH link that I have there as well, along with some other people's videos and some from students even. And back to my videos, in addition to the step-by-step instructions, I also have some excerpts from a class that I taught with this. So it's kind of neat to see the students interacting with the calculator and with me on that. And finally, the best thing is if anybody contacts me now and says, oh, I have this specific thing that I need to know how to do on the TI-84 Plus. I said, guess what? There are a jillion million YouTube videos on the TI-84 Plus, and here's the one you need to go to, and you can teach yourself because the Orion TI-84 is just an accessible TI-84 Plus. That's it.
Thank you, Susan. I think we're going to move over to Nailene now to talk about her experience with the calculator and using it with students.
Hi, everybody. So I wanted to say some things about this. On my experiences at the Texas School for the Blind and Visually Impaired, and all students at the Texas School for the Blind and Visually Impaired have either low vision or are blind, and students come to the school to get intensive services for a short period of time, ranging from as short as a weekend to as long as 2 or 3 years. But in general, they all eventually go back to their home school district around the state of Texas. All the TSBVI teachers are certified teachers of the visually impaired and are also subject area certified as well. And this is different than most public school situations around Texas, where a school may have only one visually impaired student in a class or an entire school. And in those schools, a teacher of the visually impaired works with that student for a set amount of time each week and supports the student in all subject areas. So they're spread a little bit thin. I want my students to have the same calculator as their sighted peers, because the math teachers in any public school setting will all know how to use this calculator, maybe minus the talking part, but that part can be learned. With the creation of this calculator, visually impaired students not only have the same tool as their sighted peers, but it's also portable and can go with the student anywhere, home, the park, the library, or to a friend's house. And that's very different than what we had before. The same tool that the sighted students use doesn't stand out as different or weird, and that's really important. This calculator is a cool tool, and I think a lot of people recognize that, even the high school kids. All right, slide 10. All right, so learning this calculator, as was said earlier, it takes a little bit of time. So I believe the best thing to do is to introduce the calculator to a student at a young age, to use as a 4-function calculator, maybe as young as 5th or 6th grade. Just use it for the basic 4 functions. The student will then learn how to use this calculator as they advance in their math skills. The calculator has that help mode that was mentioned for exploring the location of specific keys, and it will announce the function of the button as well as how to use it. So the help mode is great. There are also those videos that Susan has and the other ones that she mentioned. And I think you see the link here on this slide again, and then the other ones that were on the previous slide. So then I have a couple of stories to tell you and share with you about a few people I know. The first one I actually want to tell you is about Sadie. Sadie was a student of mine. She came to TSBVI in the middle of her junior year in Algebra 2. She was in Algebra 2, and she came here from the Valley. She was a determined and bright young lady. Sadie was referred to our school specifically because she was falling behind in math due to an online textbook situation. And Sadie had memorized the location of every button and function on the non-talking version of the TI-84 calculator. She had a reader who would then read her answer after she entered the calculations. I just about fell out of my chair when I saw this. So Sadie was shocked when she came to our school and discovered that there was a talking version of this same calculator. So after completing her college degree, she became a middle school teacher at our school at TSBVI. The next story I want to tell you is about Craig. He's another math teacher at TSBVI, and he said, quote, "I lost most of my sight in 2005. I was attending high school in Fort Bend ISD in Texas. My district was not that big, and they had little to no awareness of any talking graphing calculators. This meant that I had to rely on sighted assistants to do all of my calculations. So imagine my surprise coming to TSBVI to teach and discovering the Orion TI-84 talking graphing calculator. It was like finding gold." So I thought that was a really great quote to tell you about. And then there's Edgar. This is quite a success story. Edgar graduated from TSBVI and attended Texas State University. And he graduated with degrees in both computer science and engineering. He received 3 job offers and he took the job at Visa. So I've talked to him recently and here's his quote. He said, "The calculator helped me plenty for my math and engineering classes. I'm so excited to see if any innovations are in store for the device, any new innovations." Edgar is completely blind, and he demonstrates what is possible when we level the playing field in education for blind and visually impaired people. So that is why I love the Orion TI-84 talking graphing calculator. It is one tool in the toolbox for teaching my students math. All right, so the next question, how is it going with virtual instruction? So teaching virtually was a job that I was never trained to do, especially with students who are visually impaired, because learning in my classroom is very tactual. Last spring, all of the tools in my classroom, like 3-dimensional figures, the APH graphic aid for mathematics, or graph boards, stencils, Velcro boards, etc., were all suddenly unavailable to me. Normally, I'm able to quickly look at a student's work on a Braille writer, and now I cannot easily see which button they are trying to find on the calculator, or guide their fingers to the intersecting lines of a tactile graphic. It's a little bit better now, but still very challenging. We are shipping Braille books home and other items that the students need, like the calculators, to help them learn with my guidance on the Zoom class meetings that we have. And then Susan?
Oh, okay, and I was just going to say something about Maylene is in comprehensive programs, which is where the students come and stay residentially when they're allowed after this COVID-19 thing. But there's also the short-term and outreach programs at the school. The short-term programs, normally they have the students come in for a weekend or a week to do intensive instruction, and right now that's not happening. So short-term programs is offering their classes virtually to these same students for, again, that same short period of time. And then in the meantime, the outreach programs, we normally would be going out to work with students individually in their school districts and train teachers, again, in their own school districts or at least in their region. And we're not able to do that either at this present time. So we are doing as much as we can as far as supplemental type of instruction, virtual instruction, including like this particular thing today. But we also have other programs. We have a coffee hour, and these address both teacher needs and student needs. And so we are trying our best, but quite a different time.
Well, thank you both, Susan and Maylene, for that great information and your important hands-on knowledge of the talking graphing calculator and what instruction is like with those students now. We appreciate that. We thought we would pause here to see if there are any questions from the audience specifically for Susan and Maylene. And Jessica, I think you were going to moderate those questions.
Yeah, I'm moderating the Q&A. I don't see anything here, but if anyone has a question, feel free to plug it in or unmute yourself and let us know.
We have a quiet group.
We do. Okay, so, oh wait, who do you all contact for support? That's a question I got.
Well, do you mean Susan and myself, I guess? I mean, if I need support, I have tech support at my school. If I need support with a particular student and an issue, you know, maybe the student doesn't have something that they need, I have, you know, colleagues and all the people at the school that I can contact, you know, and we can kind of brainstorm together, which is really great because we have a wonderful, wonderful team of people that work at my school and can work together to solve the problems.
Okay,
Susan,
so I think he's saying, like, with the calculator, if the calculator has issues, who do you contact for support?
So TI has a help support desk called TI Cares. So they are
TI
one
Cares.
source of support.
Okay.
And in addition to that, Orbit provides support for the talking graphing calculator specifically.
And I'll just add in, if I need to learn something more about the calculator, for me, the best source has been the videos that Susan Osterhaus referred to earlier.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you. Anything else? Okay, I think we can move on.
Okay, thank you. I also put the phone number for TI Cares into the
good. Yeah,
box.
that's great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so hold on, I've got so many screens I'm trying to manage here, so I apologize. And I know you guys are seeing things pop up. And
oh no, I'm so aware of that. Oh, I know all about that. Yeah.
We are managing.
Yeah,
so thank you, everybody.
Right. No, it's all good.
Okay, so at this time, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Steve DeBauge, who is going to share some specifics with you and then some forward thinking ideas that we have at TI as well. So Steve, it's all you. And let me know when you're ready for me to start the video.
Okay, I'll give you a cue here in just a moment. So I have 2 slides that I'm going to go over and 2 videos that we're going to touch on. And what I hope to do is just give you a glimpse at some of the other work that we've been doing and some of the concepts that we are looking at on the horizon. They're not all a reality at this time, but I thought I'd take this opportunity to expose you to a few things that we have in work or on the horizon. So when it comes to exams, I think really the best solution is for a student, if they're already using a talking TI84 Plus graphing calculator, scientific calculator, and they're taking a paper and pencil exam, then it's best for them to use the tools that they're familiar with and take the exam in that fashion. However, there are a lot of states that are starting to implement digital exams, online exams, and increasingly we see requirements that these exams must support students who are blind or have low vision impairments, and that the digital on-screen exam must find a way to accommodate those. So in that context, we have been pursuing for a few years now what we call our exam calc calculator emulators. Originally, they were just on-screen emulators with no accessibility support. But over the last few years, we've been adding accessibility features and functionalities. So I thought I would take this opportunity to give you a glimpse at what some of those features and functionalities are. The three key calculators that we support for exam calc and accessibility support are our 4-function calculator, which we call the TI-108, another one that has a talking TI version, a talking scientific model, the TI-30XS multi-view. So we have an on-screen emulator for that, and Orbit Research manufactures a talking physical handheld version of that. And then the TI-84 Plus CE graphing calculator. So the 84 Plus CE, the handheld, is an updated version of the gray screen TI-84 Plus. And it adds a few dimensions to it, like color on the screen. And that comes in handy for helping students differentiate between graphs and so forth. We don't have a talking version of that particular calculator, but the exam calc on-screen solution supports some of that. So Joanie, go ahead and roll the video and I'll walk through. I pre-recorded just to keep me within the time frame. I could probably talk about this extensively.
TI-108, TI-108 elementary calculator. TI-30XS multi-view.
Here that I have got it working with JAWS screen reader. And here's the 30X multi-view. And here's our TI-84 Plus. And the little panel on the left is a little demonstration. Shows our APIs or application-specific programs. So I'll stop talking for a minute so you can hear it.
Result,
Go ahead and turn it up a little bit.
Math menu, navigate right for 4 other options. 1, show as fraction, number menu. 1, absolute value of. Complex menu, probability menu, fraction menu. 1, fraction bar, 2, show as mixed number. 3, fraction to decimal. Answer, fraction to decimal. Result, 5, fraction bar 4. Math menu, 1, show, fraction menu, 1, 4, fraction to mixed number.
So this works very much like
Answer,
the
fraction to
talking
mixed number.
TI-84 Plus
Result, 1, show as
graphing
mixed number,
calculator
fraction
from
bar 4.
Orbit Research. In the way that you maneuver through the menus and make your function selections for the mathematics that you're trying to do. However, you can see that I'm controlling it by way of the QWERTY keyboard. So here, let's take a look at graphing some functions. So I have a couple functions here. So I'm using the QWERTY keyboard to type in my functions into what we call the Y equals editor. And then once finished, then I will use a function key to graph.
Color is blue. Line style is thick. X equals 0, Y equals 2.
Go ahead and turn it up just a hair, Joanie. So now we can change the color and contrast. So web, we do focus on web standards to make sure we meet web content accessibility
X equals
guidelines.
0 decimal point 3, Y equals 2
for
decimal
color and
point 3.
contrast add
X
as well
equals
as what's on
1.
the display.
X equals 1, Y equals 3. X equals 3.
And so here
X
you can
equals
see
3.
I'm
Y equals 5.
maneuvering within a graph, exploring
Y2 equals X to the power
different
of 2
points
minus
on the
4.
line.
Graph color is X equals 3. Y equals 5. X equal.
And then I'll
5.
shift over to the
X
other
equals
graph.
2
So
decimal
the
point 5.
first one
Y
is a
equals 2
linear
decimal point
equation
25.
going up to the right.
Y X
And this one is a quadratic.
X.
So here you can hear that I turned on what we call a graph sonification feature.
X equals negative 1 decimal point 50. Y1 equals X plus Y2 X Y1 equals Y2 equals X to the power of 2 minus 4. Graph color is red. X equals 2. X equals negative 2. Y equals 0.
So there, it gives you kind of a sense of the capability of this, working with it on a screen. The functions that you find on this TI84 Plus graphing calculator are the same functions that you find on a regular TI84 Plus, the gray screen model. So that gives you some idea. And then it really varies from state to state on whether they require students to take the exam in a digital format. And if they do, they typically make some type of tool or utility available to students. Either the state in conjunction with the exam vendor will work to make some kind of a practice platform available for students to work with. So there's that, and then we're looking to the future on how we might support this type of functionality a little bit more broadly. So I think I'll keep on going right now and then pause for questions after we get through the STEM portion. So go ahead and go to the next. So here's kind of some concepts that I put together. And I think Susan and Maylene might have mentioned this earlier, but it's really nice when a student can work in a classroom with their sighted peers and work collaboratively. And we do have some STEM-oriented products out there that give students an opportunity to explore concepts in STEM in coding. So one of them is called the TI Innovator Hub. It's a little microcontroller inside of an enclosure. It's the one there on the right-hand side of the screen. And you can plug it into a TI graphing calculator like the TI84 Plus CE, and you can write a program and interact with it. And it has a built-in speaker. It has some built-in LEDs. It has an input and output ports and breadboard ports, which give you the flexibility to do all sorts of really engaging STEM activities. And then on the left-hand side of the screen is what we call our TI Innovator Rover. It's a little robotic vehicle. The TI Innovator Hub slots into the back of it and acts as kind of the brain. And then you can write a program and you can clip your calculator onto the back of the Innovator Rover and plug it in. And then when you run your program, you can control the TI Innovator Rover. And we have a number of wonderful websites and resources that are out there for a typical classroom that is doing STEM activities. These are not laid out, these currently don't fully support blind and low vision. However, the concepts that I illustrate in these videos show how you can apply some multi-sensory extensions to the use of the TI Innovator Rover or the TI Innovator Hub. So Joanie, let's go ahead and roll these videos. And the first one that I have queued up is I'm showing how I've used a piece of software called TI Connect CE to write a program.
Drive RV ... Send left paren quote RV forward.
You can hear that you do get some screen reader
Send left
support.
paren quote RV left. Send left paren quote RV right.
And so this is preparing a program that you can send over to the calculator on the TI Innovator rover. And then when you run it, it will drive. So right now I'm plugging in a cable, a USB cable to the calculator. I'm sending over the program that I've written. And then you can see when we zoom in on that, you can see I mounted a kind of a large speaker on the top of it to amplify the sound so a student can hear where the rover is driving. As it's driving, it has different audible tones for forward, left, right, and backing up. So that's the right turn sound. That's the left turn sound. And of course, backing up and shutting down. So that's one activity. Now here's another one. This is really just off the shelf, is writing a program to play some music. And in this case, we're going with Ode to Joy from Beethoven. So there's a built-in speaker on the back of the hub.
Ode to Joy.axp.
And so you can go
quote,
through and explore your,
L2 durations quote. Type in text.
Make modifications to add notes
left brace 0.2, flag. For left paren n. 1. Dim left paren L right paren.
Then put it in a little for loop and evaluate the notes and durations and turn it into a song. So you could really take any song as long as you know what the note frequencies are and the durations.
Send to calculators.
You can play just about anything that you like. So here I'm sending it to the calculator. I'm going to plug in my hub, and then I will run my program to play Ode to Joy. And what we find is students absolutely love these interactive activities we call physical computing. So here's another one that we call the mood ring. And you might remember from the 70s or 80s or 90s or so, where the temperature change causes a different color on the ring. Well, we've added different dimensions, including an audible tone, a vibration motor, in addition to a color LED to give a sensory feedback based on input temperature. So I've written the program and installed it, run it, and as the temperature changes and increases, the tone and the frequency and the color of LED will change. And then you can see on the screen, you can make cute little, text statements to indicate what mood you are. So here I'm relaxed, and then I'm lovable. But you can hear the vibration motor is slowing down, the tone is changing, the color of the LED is changing, and the text on the screen changes as well. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. That just gives you a few concepts. And while we don't have, these shaped and formed in a real product form or content out there, these are things that you can actually do if you have the motivation to do so with your students and make these extensions. And I would be happy, I think our emails are towards the end of this slide or somewhere, I would be happy to share these specific programs that I have written and give you a little bit of guidance into how we went about that. And the hope for the future is that we can use these as kind of a starting point to learn a little bit more, and then shape these into something that is truly accessible further down the road. So these are just little tastes of what might be possible in kind of the STEM and coding space, to give students a little more of an interactive and engaging and fun experience in that space. But we have other dreams and aspirations even beyond this. So I hope you enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, let's look in the chat, and I'll otherwise turn it over to Joanie and Jessica.
Thank you so much, Steve. It was really fun to watch the demonstrations of both Exam Calc and the really fun projects you were doing with Innovator and Rover. I'm thinking there may be some questions now for Steve, so feel free to pop those into the chat box.
So, okay, so here's the first I've gotten is, what is the TI84 missing that still needs to be added to level up to users? And what are the other dreams and aspirations?
So the STEM activities that I was showing are dependent on the TI84 Plus CE calculator, the thinner color model. There is not a talking version of that, not a handheld version. So I was kind of patching together the use of a computer software application called TI Connect, where you can actually write the program and use some screen reader support to hear what you're doing, and then you can send it to your calculator. But unfortunately, you know, you won't be able to program on your calculator with audible screen reader support until we get to a space where we can do that on the color version, which the TI Innovator Hub and the TI Innovator Rover depend on that platform, the 84 Plus, the updated version to use. So we have a little leveling up to do in that space to get there, but that's further down the road.
Fair enough. Any other questions from anybody? We still have like 10 minutes, so if anybody has some questions. I do want to say that I've got some, you know, comments here that is so cool, and you know, there's some other people who have posted links here. That's great.
Well, one thing we're always looking for is individuals who are blind or low vision who would like to give us feedback. And, you know, as we prototype ideas, to engage with them in a way that they can try them out. And that's so valuable to get that feedback and really shape a solution in a way that is most usable. So if you're interested, send me an email. There's my email address on the slides, and I would be happy to respond.
Okay.
Yeah, and along those lines, as Steve mentioned, you know, we're interested in continuing to add accessibility features to our products or new products, and we would love your feedback in terms of what the needs are. So we just threw a couple of questions up here. Feel free to answer those now, share your thoughts now, or reach out to Steve or me or both of us with your ideas around this, because we do really appreciate that feedback and want to be sure that the continued work that we do is relevant and meaningful for all of you.
Sorry, the questions you threw out, are they on the chat or?
They're actually showing on the slide right now.
They're on the slide. Okay. Okay.
I was going to say Jessica or Joanie or somebody, I think, go ahead and read those out to the
Okay, sure. Yeah. What resources have you found helpful in excessive STEM learning? Does anybody have an answer to that? I do, but you know, I'll respond to you guys separately. And then what one resource would be most helpful in providing access to STEM learning? How have you created or accessed STEM learning that works for you? And what would you like us to know about your STEM learning? Those are the questions. I'll even put them in the, if I can somehow, it should let me copy it. It won't because it's not in the.
Whoops. I was going to try and copy it too, Jessica, but I don't think I can.
It's not letting me do it. It's not letting me do it.
Nope.
No, not letting me do it. But I do have, I have some thoughts about that too. And I can respond to that as well. But I think that this was actually very informative for a lot of people. There's people on here who are highly, you know, they're accessibility experts, and I'm impressed that they showed up. So I think that, oh wait, hang on. Okay, what one resource would be most helpful in providing us? No, that's the same thing.
Looks like Mark is on it, transferring the questions into the chat box for us.
Yeah, he's transferring the question in the chat box, yeah. Okay. I will respond with the information I have. And I think that there's a lot that can be done here. And we haven't even, we've barely even touched the surface of it, honestly. But this was incredibly informative, for me at least. I hope everyone else feels the same way. And I really appreciate you guys. Yeah, I got great seeing all the demos and student success the success stories. That was good. They want to see those stories. You know, everybody wants to see the stories because that's what really everybody cares about. I'm just looking to see if there's anything else.
One story that Maylene did not tell, so Maylene, you can jump in on this, is that 1 year, when the Orion TI-84 Plus first came out, I only had, first I only had one prototype, and then I had 3 prototypes. But anyway, I brought it over to her students, and one of her students had been in a terrible fire, and basically the fire, she was blinded by it, but also she only had the use of one finger. And she zipped around that Orion TI-84 Plus, learned it so quickly and was so excited. And then I remember coming back and asking her, you know, if I could get some more feedback from her. And she said, she says, you know, I'm mad at you, right? And I thought, oh no, what did I do? And I went, whoa, what did I do? And she says, no, she says, you're going to take this calculator back away from me. And she says, that's why. She just really, she knew it was the only, you know, prototype I had, and I did have to go and share it with other students. But she just loved that calculator so much. It was so hard for her. And then the same thing happened when I was teaching short-term programs class. Even though I was an outreach, I was teaching this short-term program class, and I had those 3 prototypes and 8 students. And oh my gosh, trying to get them to to share those 3 prototypes, it was so hard because they all wanted it and didn't want to give it up. So those are just some things that I remember. So finally, then eventually, as Maylene will tell you, she has lots of them, but at the very beginning, it was so hard because we just had those few prototypes there at the very beginning.
Well, thank you so much for this information. We are, like I said, recording it. We're going to provide it on YouTube to anyone who needs this resource. And thank you. I don't know what else to say. Thank you so much. You guys are great.
Well, thank you. We really appreciate this opportunity. And again, we know the work that we've done so far is only the beginning and just a small portion of the need that's out there. So for those on and those that watch the recording, we would really love and appreciate your feedback for the next steps that we should take as an organization, because TI is really committed to high quality STEM education for everybody.
And Joanie, we do have an evaluation form, so I'll send you that once it's done.
Thank you. That would be great.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you guys. I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a great evening, day, night, morning, wherever you are.